HMS Vanguard, the last battleship in the Royal Navy. Her design and construction. By early 1939 it was clear that the first two Lion-class battleships could not be delivered before 1943 at the earliest, and that further battleship construction would be necessary to match the German and Japanese battleships already under construction. The main constraint on the construction of any new battleships was the limited available capacity and the time required to build large caliber guns and their gun turrets. Using four existing twin 15-inch mountings offered the possibility of bypassing this bottleneck and allowed the construction of a single fast battleship more quickly than building more Lion-class ships. The turrets were originally built for the battle cruisers Courageous and Glorious during the First World War, and were removed during the conversions of these ships to aircraft carriers in the 1920s. To save time, the Lion design was modified to accommodate the four turrets, and preliminary design works began in July 1939. The square or transom stern was retained as it was estimated to improve speed at full power by 0.33 knots, 0.61 km per hour, 0.38 miles per hour. This made Vanguard the only British battleship built with a transom stern, as the Lions were never finished. Design work was suspended on the 11th of September 1939, after the start of the Second World War, but resumed in February 1940 after the First Lord of the Admiralty, Winston Churchill, expressed an interest in the ship. The design was modified to increase protection against shell splinters on the unprotected sides of the ship's hull. The armor of the secondary armament was increased to resist 500-pound (230 kilograms) semi-armor piercing bombs, and the splinter belt's thickness fore and aft of the main armor belt was reduced by 0.5 inches (12.7 millimeters) in compensation. A small conning tower was added aft, and four unrotated projectile mounts were added to supplement the 6 octuple barrel 2-pounder anti-aircraft mounts already planned. More pressing commitments forced the preliminary design work to be suspended again in June, and when it had resumed in October, the design was modified again in light of recent war experience. Greater fuel capacity was added and the armor protection improved, but these changes deepened the design's draft so that it exceeded the 34-foot (10.4 meters) limit of the Suez Canal. The thickness of the main belt was reduced by 1 inch, 25 millimeters, to save weight, but the primary method chosen to reduce the draft was to increase the beam by 2.5 feet, 0.76 meters. This exceeded the width of the docks at Rosyth and Plymouth, which severely limited the number of docks that could handle the ship, but these changes were approved by the Board of Admiralty on the 17th of April 1941. General characteristics. Vanguard had an overall length of 814 feet 4 inches, 248.2 meters, a beam of 107 feet 6 inches, 32.8 meters, and a draft of 36 feet, 11 meters, at deep load. She displaced 44,500 long tons, 45,200 tons, at standard load, and 51,420 long tons, 52,250 tons, at deep load. The ship was significantly larger than her predecessors of the class, almost 50 feet, 15.2 meters, longer, and displaced about 6,000 long tons, 6,100 tons, more than the older ships at deep load. Vanguard was overweight by some 2,200 long tons, 2,200 tons, which magnified the difference. The ship had a complete double bottom 5 feet, 1.5 meters, deep, and she was divided into 27 main compartments by watertight bulkheads. The King George V class ships had been built with almost no shear to the main deck forwards to allow a turret to fire straight forward at zero elevation, resulting in those ships being wet forward. Vanguard was redesigned as a result of this experience, significant shear and flare being added to the bow. The ship was well regarded as seaworthy, able to keep an even keel in rough seas. At full load, Vanguard had a metacentric height of 8.2 feet, 2.5 meters. Armament. The ship's main armament consisted of 8 42 caliber BL 15-inch MKI guns in 4 twin hydraulically powered gun turrets, A, B, X and Y from bow to stern. When the turrets were modernized to the MKI and RP-12 design, their maximum elevation was increased from 20 degrees to plus 30 degrees, although the guns were loaded at plus 5 degrees. They fired 1,938 pound, 879 kilograms, projectiles at a muzzle velocity of 2,458 feet/s, 749 meters per second. This provided a maximum range of 33,550 yards, 30,680 meters. These guns were also capable of firing the same projectiles while using supercharges, which gave a maximum range of 37,870 yards, 34,630 meters. Their rate of fire was 2 rounds per minute. Vanguard carried 100 shells per gun. Secondary armament. The secondary armament consisted of 16 50 caliber QF 5.25-inch MKI dual-purpose guns in 8 twin-gun mounts. They had a maximum depression of -5 degrees and a maximum elevation of 70 degrees. They fired an 80-pound, 36.3 kilograms, high-explosive shell at a muzzle velocity of 2,672 feet/s, 814 meters per second. The improved RP-10 Spec 5.25 turrets on Vanguard were claimed to be fully automatic, with a power-rammed breech and automatic tracking and elevation under radar control, enabling a rate of fire of about 18 rounds per minute. At maximum elevation, the guns had a maximum range of 24,070 yards, 22,010 meters. 391 rounds were provided for each gun. SRAD. Short-range air defense was provided by 73 Bofors 40mm AA guns in a variety of mountings. Vanguard had 10 sextuple-barrel power-operated mounts concentrated in the superstructure and stern, a twin-barrel mount on B turret and 11 power-operated single mounts on the upper deck and rear superstructure. All mounts could depress to -10 degrees and elevate to a maximum of +90 degrees. The 40mm, 1.6-in, gun fired a 1.97-pound, 0.89 kilograms, shell at a muzzle velocity of 2,890 feet/s, 880 meters per second, to a distance of 10,750 yards, 9,830 meters. The gun's rate of fire was approximately 120 rounds per minute. Space was not available to stow the standard allowance of 1,564 rounds per gun, and Vanguard carried only 1,269 rounds per gun. 2 of the single guns on the quarterdeck were removed in 1949 and 5 others during a major refit in 1954. All of her multiple Bofors mounts were removed at this same time. FCS. Vanguard was unique among British battleships in having remote power control (RPC) for her main, secondary and tertiary guns, along with the Admiralty Fire Control Table MKX for surface fire control of the main armament. There were 2 director control towers (DCT) for the 15-inch guns, each carrying a double cheese Type 274 fire control radar for range finding and spotting the fall of shot. Each DCT could control all 4 turrets, while B turret could control A and X turrets. X turret could only control Y turret. There were 4 American Mark 37 DCTs for the 5.25-inch guns, each carrying the twin domes of Type 275 gunnery radar. Each Mark V sextuple 40mm Bofors mounting was provided with a separate CRBF, close-range blind fire, director fitted with a Type 262 radar, although the ship never mounted her complete outfit of those directors. The Stag Mk2 40mm Bofors mounting carried its own Type 262 on the mounting itself. Other radar sets carried were Type 960 Air and Surface Search, Type 293 Target Indication and Type 277 Radar Height Finding. When the 15-inch gun turrets were modernized, their 15-foot, 4.6 meters, rangefinders were replaced by 30-foot, 9.1 meters, ones in all turrets except for A, and they were fitted for RPC in azimuth only. The turrets were also provided with dehumidifying equipment and insulation to improve their habitability. Her fate. Sadly, she was sent to the breakers. If I had it my way, I would have saved at least one British battleship, either Warspite, Hood, if she survived the war, or Vanguard. Warspite for her history, Hood for her popularity, and Vanguard for being the last constructed.